from conflict. May the way of Buddha usher in the dawn of nonviolent global village forever. Here is the after sound of the thunder of silence, light after Dharma ray. Amoga. Vairochana Mahamudra. Manipadme Jvala Pravartaya.
Please stand and join me in chanting of the three refuges. So facing the altar, bring the right and left sides of your body together in this gesture we call Hapchang, of sincere heart, the palms joined. And then just take a moment to feel the connection of your feet to the floor beneath you. Taking a nice deep breath, allowing yourself to be fully present. We will take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, first in Sino-Korean, which is the root of our lineage, and then in English. So even though you do not know the Korean words, just throw your voice in as best you can. Shiva And now in English, please repeat after me. I go for refuge to the Buddha.
I go for refuge to the Buddha.
And resolve with all beings.
And resolve with all beings.
I will cultivate a heart of enlightenment.
I will cultivate a heart of enlightenment.
And realize the great way.
And realize the great way.
I go for refuge to the Dharma.
I go for refuge to the Dharma.
And resolve with all beings.
And resolve with all beings.
I will penetrate the teachings.
I will penetrate the teachings.
And uncover oceans of wisdom.
And uncover oceans of wisdom.
I go for refuge to the Sangha.
I go for refuge to the Sangha.
And resolve with all beings.
And resolve with all beings.
I will seek peace and happiness for the many.
I will seek peace and happiness for the many.
And transform this world into Buddha lands unimpeded.
And transform this world into Buddha lands unimpeded.
In a moment, I will invite you to sit down for another period of meditation. But first, let's just take a moment to care for our bodies. I don't know about you, but that extra hour that I got this morning really gave me some extra energy. So just take a moment to shake anything off that you need to shake off. And if you have any area that you need to stretch, your arms, or maybe it's your legs, just take a moment to do that. All right. And then as we sit, there are really three main categories of sitting postures. One of them is sitting in a chair, one of them is a kneeling posture, and one of them is formal sitting, in which we're oftentimes cross-legged. So let's begin with those sitting in chairs. So I invite you to sit down. And as you sit, please place your feet flat on the floor. Feel your back supported behind you. We have some little support cushions over here for those of you who want or need them. And then place your hands on your lap in this mudra that we call, or you can have your hands on your knees, whatever is more comfortable. Okay, so next, let's do those who are going to use a kneeling posture. A kneeling posture looks like this. You can have the cushion upright, or you can have it flat. And so you just place one knee on either side of the cushion and sit back like this. So those who are using the kneeling posture, please sit down. And then the third main posture is a sitting posture. There are several variations of this, but the important point is that you try to have knees on the mat and your hips supported by your cushion. So you have this nice triangular base of knees and hips. So those who are using a kneeling posture, please sit down. I'm sorry, a sitting posture. And then if all of us could take care of our backs. So to do this, lean forward on your hands. Bring the arms up, palms facing. Turn the palms out. Slowly lower them. You can feel your back straightening. Place the left fingers on top of the right with the thumbs gently touching. Take a nice deep breath. And bring to mind 3 foundation stones. So in this very moment, nothing to worry about. In this very moment, nothing is lacking. In this very moment, always something to be grateful for. Please focus your eyes by looking down the bridge of your nose. Just gently focused. And then pay attention to the breath, ideally breathing from the abdominal area. We call this the Tanshan area. If you have a practice such as counting, focus on that. And if you don't have a practice established yet, we would recommend counting the out breaths from 5 backwards to 0. This helps focus and concentrate the mind and bring the awareness to the body. So please now begin your meditation practice, and we'll sit for another 5 minutes or so until you hear the sound of the bell. So please sit comfortably. You may wish to turn this way a little bit so that we can see and hear each other. Okay, can you hear me? All right, good. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Mama.
I'm curious if any of you slept in today, or how did you use your extra time, this time when we're switching time? Just curious. How many slept in? Little extra rest, always welcome, right? Okay. It always takes me a little while to adjust to a time frame, so time change. And so I was up at 4 because normally I get up at 5. Anyways, I'm always grateful for this time of year. Every week at the temple, every evening, in fact, when we have evening service, we recite the 6 right livelihood guidelines, and it goes like this. Consume mindfully, pause, breathe, listen, practice gratitude, cultivate compassion and loving kindness, discover wisdom, and accept constant change. And then we choose one to focus on for the week. And our focus for this week is practice gratitude, which I think is very appropriate, giving them, because we are in this sort of season of gratitude, Thanksgiving time. And so I would like to share some thoughts with you this morning about gratitude practices. For Thanksgiving, a lot of us may go to family gatherings or gatherings of friends, something like that, have a nice big meal. And oftentimes at the beginning of the meal, at least in my family, we said, before we begin to eat, let's go around and everybody say something that they're grateful for. And of course, being hungry, ready to dig in, we just came up with something really quick and went around the room. And oftentimes they were kind of superficial things. So part of what I was exploring this week is why do gratitude practice? Is it something more than just these stock answers, something that's nice but relatively unimportant? And so why do we do it? And how can we do it well? So one reason to practice gratitude is the Buddha tells us to. And of course, the antidote is you have to find out for yourself. But the Buddha tells us to. And so there's not really a main scripture on gratitude. It's sort of scattered throughout. But here are a couple of things that the Buddha says. In the Upasakashila Sutra, which is precepts for lay bodhisattvas or householders, the Buddha says, when someone benefits us even a little, we should repay them with all of our hearts. Even if someone is angry with us, we should always treat them well. So this repaying with all of our hearts is kind of a gratitude practice. And the Buddha also says, these 2 people are hard to find in the world. Which 2? The first one, the one is the first to do a kindness. And the one who is grateful and thankful for a kindness done is the other kind of person. So the person doing the kindness and the person who's grateful or thankful for the kindness. And he's saying that those people are hard to find in the world. So that's a hint that maybe this gratitude practice is not as simple or as apparent as we think. And then in the Katanuna Sutta, the Buddha says, a person of no integrity is ungrateful and unthankful. This ingratitude, this lack of thankfulness is advocated by rude people. It's entirely on the level of people with no integrity. A person of integrity is grateful and thankful. This gratitude, this thankfulness is advocated by civil people. It is entirely on the level of people with integrity. So I never really connected integrity with gratitude before. So it's kind of interesting. This made me think a little bit. Does this ring true? And so now we're moving to the Buddha's other advice is don't believe it just because I said it. Test it for yourself and see what you come up with. So integrity, what comes to mind when we think about integrity? Well, maybe honesty, maybe being truthful, transparent. And so if we are these things, for example, if we're in touch with our feelings and can express them in an honest and open way, these are characteristics that perhaps I would associate with gratefulness. So gratitude brings up this sense of openness and honesty. And when we express ourselves in this way, it's like an offering, kind of. It's an offering that we give to other people. Somebody with integrity is also trustworthy, following through on their commitments, respecting the goods and articles that have been given to them. So as I observe people respecting articles and goods around the temple, let's say even like caring for plants. And either you can just do it to kind of get the job done, or you can do it with this spirit of gratitude. Again, just kind of making an offering, caring for things at the temple from your heart. And integrity also means being responsible. So doing things when nobody is looking. Sometimes I come to morning practice and I'm the only one here. That might be a good excuse just to not do the practice or to do it in an abbreviated form. But I'm grateful to the temple, I'm grateful to the Sangha. And I feel like it's my responsibility to repay the support of the Sangha by engaging in this practice. So that's another expression of gratitude. So we need to also begin to see the benefits of gratitude, to be motivated to engage in it on a regular basis. So I ran across this story, which I'd like to share with you. So this is about an old man with 5 children, and he lives in some Asian country. I'm not quite sure which country. But he's out on the street a lot, can't walk very well, and so he sits out on the street. But he has these 5 children, and they don't seem to care for him very well. He thinks they do not care for him very well. So he is kind of full of suffering and feeling depressed a lot. And as he is sitting there, this actually must have been in India because the Buddha walks by and this old man recognizes that this person is the Buddha. So he decides to ask the Buddha, "You are so wise. Can you please tell me how to get rid of my suffering?" And the Buddha's response was, "Do you know how to be grateful?" "No, please show me the way." So then the Buddha points to this walking stick that the old man has with him. And he said, "Are you grateful for your walking stick?" And the old man says, "Yes, I rely on it every day to walk up hills and down hills. It gets me a lot of places. And then when the dogs come and start bothering me, I can shoo them away with this walking stick. Yes, I'm very grateful for this walking stick." So then the Buddha says, "Well, you do seem to know a little bit about gratitude. From now on, take this walking stick and constantly say thank you. And when the time comes, your destiny will change." So the old man, as he goes around with his walking stick, says, "Thank you, walking stick. Thank you, walking stick." And pretty soon he encounters people and he says to them, "Thank you, thank you." And he just sort of naturally extends this gratitude practice to the rest of his life. And then the Buddha comes back one day and is holding an assembly and says to those who are attending, "Let's talk a little bit about gratitude. I know somebody who can tell us about gratitude," and he points to the old man. And so the old man comes up and tells this story really of how this gratitude practice of saying thank you has transformed his life and that he's no longer feeling depressed and miserable and put upon. And his children happened to be in the audience. And when they heard this story, it sort of brought them to tears. And they realized that, we have been neglecting our father. We should take better care of our father. And so this relationship then began to transform too. And he ended up with, more of the relationship connections that he really needed in his life. So gratitude can have this benefit of transformative qualities. So I know for myself, I am overall very grateful to be living at the temple. There are day-to-day challenges, and sometimes I get caught up in those challenges and I start whining and complaining, and it's like, why can't things be different? And why do I have to drag people to practice? Or why do I have to do all these dishes or whatever it is that comes up? And if I can just take a moment and flip that around, it makes all the difference. Like, I am so grateful that this resident showed up today, or I am so grateful that they came, even though they came later. Even when there's one other person in the morning and we're doing practice together, it's quite lovely. We light the candles together, and it feels like we're making a sincere offering together. So now I'm beginning to think gratitude is more of a fundamental Buddhist practice than I might first acknowledge. If I look at the routine of the temple, we have a lot of rituals that maybe could be considered gratitude practices in and of themselves. So every morning when we get up and do morning practice, we do 108 prostrations. Does anybody know what a prostration looks like? Somebody want to demonstrate? Could you? Awesome, Gil. I thought you raised your hand. Could you turn the camera so we can see this?
Pressure's on.
Pressure's on. Aren't you grateful for this opportunity?
I really am. Thank you.
So you can see as she did that, it's kind of a touching the earth. And then she turned her palms. She turned her palms upward. It's kind of an expression of gratitude. So from the very beginning of our day, we engage in a little gratitude practice before we even sit. And then after we sit, we always chant Yebel. So we chanted a piece of that today, the three refuges. And let me give you a different translation than the one that we did. So with my utmost heart, I make devotions to our great teacher, Buddha Shakyamuni, guide of the three realms and compassionate father of the four forms of life. So when we say, I go for refuge to the Buddha and resolve with all beings to cultivate a heart of enlightenment, what we're doing is with my utmost heart, so our palms are up, with my utmost heart, I make devotions. And then we do the same thing for dharmas. With my utmost heart, I make devotions to all the dharmas, eternally existent of the past, present, of the future. Throughout the 10 directions, as countless as the lands and seas in Indra's jewel net. And with my utmost heart, I make devotions to all the sanghas, eternally existent of the past, the present, and the future. Another morning gratitude practice that we do. At every meal, we say the meal gata. So those of you who know this, you can join me. It goes like this. This food comes from the labors of beings, past and present. From this, our body, mind is nourished, our practice sustained. Gratefully, we accept this meal. So these gratitude practices are sort of built into our day. If you don't live at a temple, what about that? What gratitude practices can you think of? So I'm going to back up just a second because I think I forgot to mention a pretty important point about why this gratitude practice is so pervasive in our practice. If you can think about all the things that it is connected to, generosity. So when we give and receive, there's a sense of gratitude. And then wisdom. Wisdom being having sort of this unknowing mind and just being able to do things because you see that they are needed. Patience. We have a whole paramita about patience, that we need to bear and forbear the wrongs of others. And so if you think of gratitude practice, even in daily life, many of you are students, you certainly know how to delay gratification. And gratitude practice helps us with that too. In Buddhist teachings, we talk about greed as being one of the three poisons, and gratitude is offered as an antidote to greed. And then we have the four viharas, loving compassion, loving kindness, sympathetic joy, and equanimity. all connected to gratitude. In the Shin Buddhist tradition, they don't have all these rituals that I've just been talking about. Their main practice is just to do gratitude, just to practice gratitude and engage in daily life in that way. Shin Buddhists are not a formal monastic tradition, it's mainly a lay tradition. And they do this practice as a way of living a more fulfilled life. So, to whom should we offer gratitude? From the Buddhist tradition, we say that at least there's 4 main ones. So our parents, our teachers, our friends, and all beings. So this can be another sort of framework or guideline for you as you cultivate gratitude. But the most important point is with almost any of our practices, it's a skill that can be cultivated. If we don't cultivate it, then it doesn't flourish and we don't see the benefits that we can get. Gratitude is associated with happiness. So if we want a happy life, it's important to cultivate gratitude. Let's go back to that right livelihood guideline that I started with. So when we flesh that out, the practice gratitude means, number 1, notice what you have. Number 2, be equally grateful for opportunities and challenges. And number 3, share joy, not negativity. So let's look at each of those. So notice what you have. Do any of you keep a journal, gratitude journal? Some of you, I mean, this is a practice that is recommended, I think, by many groups out there. People in recovery do it. Other religions do it. Just to write down, at the end of the day, to write down 5 things that maybe you're grateful for, or at the beginning of the day. So as you do this journaling practice, it's interesting to observe how many things go into that journal. Is it 2, 5, 20? As you do the practice over time, the list kind of grows. And also the list deepens. So we get beyond those Thanksgiving gratitudes of that food looks delicious, I'm grateful for the person who prepared it, to something much deeper. So, gratitude for the relationships that we have in our lives. Gratitude for the earth and, this desire to care for it more deeply. All these things can go into your gratitude journal. How about be grateful for both challenges and opportunities? This is an interesting one. So, opportunities, I think it's a little bit easier to see. Hey, somebody is giving me this great job offer. I'm very grateful for it. Challenges that crop up in our everyday lives, those too are opportunities. We can turn them into opportunities, or we can be grateful for them because they offer us opportunities to grow. In one monastery, they start every day with this: may I be given the appropriate difficulties so that my heart can be truly open and compassionate. So the example of this for us might be responding to negative feedback. Has anybody ever received negative feedback? Yeah, pretty regular basis. There's this cooking show I watch from time to time on Netflix. I think it's the Great British Baking Show or something like that. And so the judges do not always give the contestants positive feedback. But even when it's negative, most of the contestants say, thank you for that feedback. And because they're using it as an opportunity to grow and perfect things. And so that's how we can look at gratitude in our everyday life as well. I certainly don't like to receive the negative gratitude. The negative gratitude, that's kind of what it is. The negative feedback, but it does open my eyes, and for that I am grateful. And then share joy, not negativity. So gratitude is a connection to happiness, and happiness is a connection to joy. I find joy kind of a strong word, being from sort of a conservative Midwestern background. The image that comes to mind is, oh, joy, that means I must be cultivating jumping up and down and yelling or something like that. But no, joy is just this sort of deep happiness that we're willing to share with others. Sharing that can be as simple as smiling and giving somebody a smile. Taking time to breathe, listening to them, noticing a beautiful leaf that's turned in color and just making that as an offering. Another way to share joy is say thank you out loud. I don't do that nearly enough, and I think all of us maybe could work on that. So like that old man with a stick, if you walk around saying thank you all the time, pretty soon it spreads and it creates a new sort of atmosphere. Does it seem hokey at first? Well, maybe it does. But you know what? Even when you say thank you and somebody thinks it's hokey, they appreciate it. So it's a good practice to engage in. Just say thank you out loud as much as you can. And then share joy, not negativity, make service offerings. We are so fortunate here at the temple. We get service offerings on a regular basis. We sometimes almost take them for granted. Oftentimes we receive fresh produce. People bake us things and bring it to us. They come for gardening practice and make a sincere service offering of making the garden more beautiful, painting the fence, all these kinds of things. It's really pretty easy to make a service offering if you think about it. Not only to the temple, but to the people in your lives. So how can you do that? Maybe just bringing a cup of tea to someone. Or looking at the sink and saying, that person didn't do their dishes, but you know what? Every dish is my dish, so I'm just going to take care of the dirty dishes. That's a type of service offering that we can make. So in this season of generosity, giving, gratitude, I encourage you to think about how you might cultivate it. It's such a broad topic. It's kind of hard. In a way, it's hard to talk about, and maybe that's why we don't talk about it more, because it's connected to so many things. But it is a very important practice in our lives. So at the close of our service, we'll do a little gratitude practice together, but I want to pause right now for any additions that people might have, gratitude practices that you do that you might like to share.
In the morning, I love to drink tea, and I've made it into my gratitude practice. So when I begin to drink, I've made up a gratitude where I give thanks to the sun, the air, the rocks, the water, the organisms that help make the soil, the plants that gave them their leaves, the people who helped to harvest them and raise them, pack the leaves and so forth. And then each sip that I take after that, I give gratitude to something in my life. So I try to do at least 5 sips this way.
Oh, so I'm impressed by the gratitude so I'm a night nurse at the hospital, and our particular cohort of patients can spend like 30 plus days in the hospital at a time. And as a night nurse, every night at 11 p.m. and 4 a.m., I have to go in, wake them up, like take their blood pressure, draw labs. And I've come people like grumpily turning over afterward and falling back asleep is kind of what I've become accustomed to. But there's quite a few, and I think like a surprising amount of people who say like, thank you for waking me up at 4 a.m. every day and performing these services. And that makes me feel good. And it's also probably beneficial to their health because then I'm not like so skittish about staying around. I make sure that they're like actually okay. But when somebody's like, let me go back to sleep, I'm like, okay. And I go away. And maybe I don't do as thorough as is warranted for the severity of their condition. So.
I have to practice a lot of gratitude practices. And after hearing this, I'm like, oh, there's so many things I can do to like improve and show gratitude, thankfulness for so many people and so many things. But I don't know, something that I thought of while listening. I guess I could just kind of unconsciously do is like I like. So I'm in a group project with some friends, and like aside from being amazing like team members, they're incredible people, great peers, and I like eating with them and sometimes bringing food, and maybe it's a little selfish. I like them saying thank you, like oh yeah, that makes me feel good, but seeing them like enjoying the food and having an interest in like how the day will unfold and working together after eating. I don't know, just there's so many like little things about it that makes me really, really thankful. Not only the food, but for the people that I'm sharing it with.
I am part of 2 different gratitude text groups. So each morning, after I pray and read my meditation, for me, I send those gratitude lists out, and it's 10 things every morning that I find that I'm grateful for. And it's for me to start my day with an attitude of gratitude. And I find that when I do these things throughout the day, I will raise my hands in prayer and give a bow when that gratitude comes to me, and it comes almost subconsciously. And I've had people stop and ask, well, why are you bowing? And it's my expression of gratitude and thanks. Another thing that I like to do is try and smile and say hi to people that I walk past or jog past on the street, just to encourage that gratitude and that sense of community.
So thank you for sharing your gratitude practices. I think it inspires the rest of us to think about ways that we can engage maybe differently than we do. So as we close, I want to invite everyone to place their hands palm to palm in this gesture we call Hapchang, a sincere heart. And then to listen as I read 5 daily reminders. In the morning, I wake up before sunrise. I do San Ma'um. San Ma'um means this gesture of Hapchang, that our hands palm to palm. I do San Ma'um to express my gratitude for being among the living. May I keep my vow to stand firm with all life throughout the day. At breakfast, I sit before my meal. I do San Ma'um to give thanks and develop peace of mind and stability. May I keep my vow to maintain peace of mind throughout the day. In the afternoon, I do my Dharma practice for the world. I do San Ma'um to discover the good in each being and to show my deep appreciation of the Buddha in them. May my feeling of appreciation last throughout the day. In the evening, I return home, visit friends, and do my Sangha practice. I do San Ma'um to share joy and happiness in the company of family and friends. May I cherish joy and happiness for the peace of the world and happiness of all beings. At night, I sit in meditation to close the day peacefully. I do San Ma'um to clear away the residue of the day and settle my mind for overnight rest. May all beings be happy and enjoy good sleep, free from tears. Thank you for your attendance and participation today. I would like now to give this to someone who is doing an announcement.
Is Samun there? I can do it.
Here you go. Just getting the cheat sheet.
Coordinate that part. Yes. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jagwa. A few announcements for you. We have public services every Sunday at 10 a.m., both here in person and live streamed via our YouTube channel. And then the first and third Sundays at 4 p.m. in person only. Also on Sunday, we have an 8 p.m. online only Sangha, and there is a URL that you can access that. I believe it's via Zoom on this flyer. We have a family program once a month where our children and families meet and do activities together, and then in their unique age groups. The next one is November 13th, and that begins at 9:50, so just 10 minutes before the adult service starts. We have a one-day meditation retreat coming up Saturday, November 26th. That's Thanksgiving weekend. So that is a Saturday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and includes lunch. You're welcome to join for that. And then the next session of our introductory meditation course, which is in person Thursday evenings, 6:30 to 8:30, will begin January 12th. And there'll be an overnight version of that offered a little bit sooner, a Friday evening through a Saturday, which is December 2nd and 3rd. We have some study groups that meet, including Recovery Dharma, which is every Sunday at noon. That's a Buddhist inflected 12-step group. Are you meeting next door?
Next door in the big yellow house, first floor library. Walk through the front door, keep walking straight ahead, take your shoes off first, and place them to your right.
Perfect, thank you. There's also a couple of other study groups that meet on Zoom. You can also find information about those on this sheet. And then finally, we have our All Sangha Thanksgiving service, November 20th at 10 a.m. So this,
Sorry, it's next weekend.
oh, it's next weekend.
I apologize.
November 13th, is that
Yeah.
the right one? Okay, next Sunday, November 13th. And so this is a special service in honor of the Thanksgiving season, and also will include some special songs and gratitude towards all of the many people who contribute to the life of our Sangha and helping keeping things running here. Anything I forgot?
Just, we have some special work practice opportunities that Heidi is going to talk about.
Okay.
Well, Malone has talked about joy in service, and boy, you have an opportunity right now to practice that. So we would like to ask anyone who's able to stay for 15 minutes after service to help us with a few projects. We need 2 to 3 strong people to flip a mosaic piece, which weighs about 80 pounds. So we need to flip it from one side, which is concrete down, to flip it to the other side, which is plaster of Paris up. So yeah, that's working with Mike Capitan here. The other thing is, for our Thanksgiving service, we're going to be drying grapes. We were given a lot of grapes, and so we're trying to process those into raisins. So we could use a few people to help us to cut grapes, put them on the dehydrating tray so that we can begin the process of making raisins. And then if you'd like to do some outdoor work, we always have some sweeping, digging in the garden, things like that. So if you could give us 15 minutes after service, we would really appreciate it. Meet me out front and I will kind of direct you to tasks. Thank you.
Thank you, Heidi. So let's all stand and we'll make 3 formal bows to end our service. So in preparation for the 4 p.m. service, if those people on this side of the room can pick up the second row of cushions, the small mats and cushions, and place them on the stage. And people on this side of the room place cushions on the racks and mats in the far corner. We'd appreciate it. Thank you.